Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today we're going to take on a fairly common problem. It shows up from time to time, and it's that we have an anti-reverse that doesn't always hold. This is an anti-reverse clutch, but every now and then it starts spinning in the wrong direction, and then it'll take off again. That's usually a sign of dirt, and we'll show you how to go service that today. We're going to use the Daiwa Regal X2500 fishing reel. It's got that skip in it. It was sent in by Mike, who's a first responder and working in the medical field. And Mike, thank you for what it is that you're doing in New York to help keep everybody safe and out of harm's way, and to restore those to health that may have contacted this virus. Really do appreciate everything all of our first responders are doing. All right, so we took off the spool. We're going to take off the two little the shim washer and the click washer. And we're going to remove the handle. We want to get to the anti-reverse bearing or clutch, and we want to get to the sleeve. Most of the time it's a matter that those two have a lot of dirt or oil or grease in them, and the best way to try and solve the issue with the skipping anti-reverse is to just clean that first and foremost. All right, this one has a 12 millimeter nut, but you can't reach it one way, so we're going to try and reach it another way. And that requires me to go find my 12 millimeter wrench. This one's flat, so you don't have to worry too much about the reaching it with a wrench as opposed to a deep socket. We'll take that off, and now we should be able to pull the whole assembly off top here. This is a bearing assembly sitting on top of the clutch. So here's an override switch. You want to make sure that that's working. A lot of times that'll get stuck, and that'll be a cause of it. But in this case, not so much. And we're going to go ahead and take off the bearing collar. This has just got the pinion bearing sitting up top. Underneath that will be the anti-reverse clutch and bearing. This one looks like it's got some kind of lube on there, and its chances are that maybe a hot sauce or something, but chances are that that's kind of leaked down and caused the issue with the skip. Most of the time you'll read a bearing, and an anti-clutch bearing, and it'll say do not oil, and that's because of the way it's set up. All right, make sure you take pictures. Notice that this has got two studs that go into a plastic portion of the collar there, and it's got two mounting points, which is where we just were. We're going to remove that. Underneath, notice that you have the bearing next, and now the clutch assembly is coming out, which is what we want to get to. This is the override on the clutch assembly, so you want to make sure that as you do this, you either have a schematic or you take the pictures along the way to see what's going on there. Here's your bearing. It's easy enough to see. It's got a wider shield below than on top. That's going to sit in that collar like that, so we'll do that. This one doesn't appear to be a problem in terms of which way it orients, because it's circular and it doesn't appear to be favoring one side or the other. Next up then is our anti-reverse clutch, and here's where I'm going to believe is the problem. There's just way too much grease and stuff on this post, so we're just going to take the time to clear it. So this is probably such a good grease that it's causing the bearings to slip inside. So you want to remove that from both sides, the collar as well, and to me that's going to be the issue right there. So we can test before we go much further. We can put that bearing back on. You can't put oil on the bearing, there's nothing wrong with that. And we can seat the clutch. The clutch has got a rectangular section to it. I'm still feeling a lot of grease on there, so I'm thinking without going very far that that's going to be the issue. I'm just going to wipe up some of the excess. You can see how much of that is leaked into the bearing. These are spring driven, and you can put a light coating on there, but an awful lot of it is just going to defeat what it is it's trying to get done. Notice when we took it off, you had two different sides, and this is the override side up top. You saw that earlier. I'm going to go ahead and put that on, and we're going to test. And you test by holding the piece. Yeah, that's locking now. You test by holding that Loctite piece. All right, now we're out of the shield. There we go. I think it's going to be as simple as that. We're going to grab a brush. Come back in since we're doing this. We're going to go down below, but I'm going to go reinstall this piece, and then we'll show you the rest of that service there. Yeah, see, we got grease all over this, and that's my experience, that when these things fail, they either fail because there's a lot of dirt in there preventing the action from happening, or in this case, there's just a lot of excess grease in there causing that slide. All right, I'm going to put it in. We're aiming for the stud there. And there is a way it seats. There you go. We're good there. You position that over the stud. Next up would be your little tie-down mechanism here. Fits in the grooves. And there's a shim washer that goes on top of that ferrule that rides inside the anti-reverse. And then we have this big bearing with the wide side down. And then we have our collar that's matching. Kind of just has to get located properly. There we go. Then we can take our two tie-down screws and we'll just tighten those up, and we'll give it a test. And we'll go down below. We'll show you how the rest of this reel is made. But if you're experiencing a skip with that anti-reverse, try that first. Okay, we're going to leave the rotor off now because we have to get underneath here to take the case out. And there's a couple of screws holding that case on. Just find the right screwdriver, and this has those machine tooled ones with the different bit, but we can use a flat-bladed screwdriver on these. We have a couple. We have one holding a bump guard here. And we have two exposed. Let's go ahead and get the bump guard one out. I'm laying them on my desk now because I want to make sure that I know exactly where those screws come from because they're different sizes. So the bump guard's got the two small ones here. Take those off, you can put them back in your parts tray. And I want to check now to make sure that the three of the side plate screws are all the same size. It's important to note, so I recommend that you either get a schematic for the reels or you take pictures as I'm doing here. That way if you get lost along the way or you find that you're having trouble putting a screw back in or whatever, you may find that it's going in the wrong hole, otherwise lost your orientation on it. So best to do is take the pictures at critical junctions. You don't have to take the video, just grab your cell phone or a digital camera or whatever and take a picture like now where we know where the three screws have come from. So we can't remove that. Those three screws are the same. So I put those in the parts tray, and now we should be able to lift off the side plate. This one's probably never come off. Oh, there's one more hiding there. So this is worth noting, is that if you find yourself pulling and nothing's coming off there, don't force anything. Don't go trying to pull it out with a pliers or something. Take a closer examination. Shimano is real good about hiding an extra screw, hiding it in the backside and so on, and when you think you've got it, you don't. So, and of course this comes off nice and easy now. Continuation on a theme with the lube lying low and being very wet. We're going to move this down to the bottom. I don't know if this will come out without the the axle shaft coming out? Probably not. No. So you want to move this down to the bottom so you can clear your axle shaft. Grab a Phillips head screwdriver to get that out. It's a small flat-headed screw. Again, it's a good thing to note where these are coming from and the orientation. That's your flat-headed screw. Once you do that, you can hold your base of the crosswind block to pull that out. Now you can remove your main gear. Notice the orientation on the crosswind block. It's kind of an S shape that follows the case. Kind of easy to put it in backwards sometimes, so you want to pay attention to that. We'll grab this one if we can. I think that's held in by a screw as well. Looks that way. Let's see. Nope, it's just a stud. So you should be able to grab the stud on the crosswind block to remove that. And this is just a case cleanup here. We've already lubed up the top part there. Looks like a bushing in the back. Just a little bit of leftover greases here, so let's get that out. And I'm not sure if this is a metallic or if it's just the type of grease that it is, but it's coming out kind of like a metally type of a piece. When you see that gray silver kind of residue, it usually means that something metal was grinding, but I didn't hear that as we were working on this. Alright, so I just cleaned it all off. You check the teeth on your crosswind block. Make sure that they're all intact and that they're all uniform. You get a good amount of grease onto the teeth and onto the face of the crosswind block as well, which is where that crosswind gear is going to ride. Go ahead and put that back on. Looks like we have a little bit of grease hanging out over here. Let's get that out of the way. Alright, check the crosswind block itself. I said block before, that's the gear. So I just was looking at a report. I'm going to do a little series. It's on types of anglers and kind of fishing preferences and the like. And I just saw something that was kind of interesting, and that's that the average angler will probably buy a Daiwa reel. So here you go. Here's a Daiwa reel that they may buy. And I think some of the reason for that is the width and breadth of the products that Daiwa has. They don't specialize in one particular piece, but they do specialize in well-made reels. But across the fishing spectrum, whether you like a spinning reel or a saltwater reel or a casting reel or a high-end reel, Daiwa seems to make it. And I guess if you're an average angler, the top-selling brand is going to be Daiwa, because regardless of what type of fishing you're doing, you're probably going to go that way. And they have everything from a very inexpensive reel like a Crossfire all the way up to the Saltiga line. So it's kind of interesting to note, and stay tuned for that one. I'm going to be I'll go over all the top brands, what the average angler probably will buy. This is according to a 2019 study by a group called Southwick Associates down in Florida. And we'll give you a little insight into that. I'm always looking at insights on the fishing industry. So there you go. All right, we've just cleared that up. Reinserted our main gear, and we can put our axle shaft in. You need to merge that with the crosswind block. Remember, you have to put that stud below so that you have access to it. Now we can reinstall the set screw for the crosswind block. Clear up that little bit of residue on the front end of the case here. I use paper towels and cotton swabs, as most of you who have been watching have noted. There's also a shim washer on this. You want to pay attention to the shim washers. Those shim washers are for balancing the spacing on the main gear so it doesn't wobble, and they're set at the factory. So if you find that you have one of them, leave them there, and if you feel inclined to put two in there, probably not a good idea. All right, so that's back the way it should be. We're going to take the side case, also a plastic bushing on this side, so we have 2 plastic bushings on this reel. And we have the one bearing that you saw up top. The 4 screws are the same. Even the one I forgot about. Well, the one I forgot about has got a bigger head down below here. It's a little bit different. So that's why you want to take the pictures so that you can make note of them. And we can go ahead and put these back in. So this is a nice reel. The Regal has been around for quite some time. You saw an earlier generation of it on one of the videos I posted in the last few weeks. And this is a more recent one. I didn't get a chance to see on the real foot where this one is made. Daiwa has plants in a couple of different places. Yeah, this one's in Thailand. So there you go. So they've been in Korea, they've been in Japan. I think the high end is probably still made in Japan. This one is in Thailand. Shimano, of course, they have plants in Japan, but also in Malaysia. And not too many of the Japanese reels do you find. That's an oxymoron here, right? A Japanese reel that is made not made in Japan, right? But I guess you could say if you find a Japanese company like Daiwa or Shimano, there's not many of them made in China, made in other places. And I guess there's a historic and a cultural reason for that, but that's probably about as far as I can go with it. All right, the last one goes in here. Then we have the 2 bump guards, and we'll give it a final test there just to make sure that it was the grease that was causing the issue with that anti-reverse. These go in. Again, take that don't force it kind of approach on these reels. Get one on each side of this. One on the bottom. I'm kind of interested in what the drag setup is in this. This would be a candidate based on the reel profile here. This would be a candidate for a plastic drag washer, but I'm not sure. Plastic or Teflon, just based on seeing plastic bushings below. Usually on the lower end reels, like this one, you're going to find low maintenance type of pieces because the chances in the profile of somebody doing the work, taking a reel like this apart, servicing it on a regular basis, is probably less so than on the high end ones where you're looking to maintain an investment. So they generally put in as much maintenance-free stuff as they can in here, like the plastic bushings that you saw below. And that's something that this little study that I'm going to reference kind of goes into who buys what, why they buy it, what their motivations in fishing are, and if you're a fishing retailer, how to stock to kind of play to your customer, the old know your customer. I took that trim ring out here so they can access the drag stack. Let's go ahead and pull them out. Let's find out what we got. So we have a felt washer set up. That requires a little bit of oil. Well, we know we got a little bit of oil in this reel because that's what was kind of bogging down the other. I'm going to go ahead and put the washer back in. I'm going to use some Real X oil just to kind of dot that washer. The big deal with the felt washers is that you need to keep them lubricated. If those felt washers dry out, they're going to tear. So you want to make sure that you always have enough oil in there to keep them fresh. In this case, there's plenty of oil on these, and I'll almost certainly when they come from the factory, they come over lubricated because they know, again, there's not many people that are going to do this on this reel. All right, put that back in, put the clip back in. I'll go ahead and turn turn this around here. And we'll settle this down. Make sure it's in the clips, which that clip goes into the groove. Again, a little bit of grease in here. Let's get that out of the way. Let's go line this up then. Tighten the drag down. Make sure that holds. So if you like what you're seeing, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please hit the notification button. That way you won't miss any of the episodes that I post, and I do post frequently. If you have any questions, please leave the questions in the comment section. This is a question I get a lot. My anti-reverse is skipping. I thought I had an instant anti-reverse clutch. Why can that be? And kind of we know. It can be too full of grease or too full of dirt. Okay, let's give it a ride. Riding nicely. Make sure it's stopping. I'm doing just about everything I can to force a fail, but it's grabbing. So I guess that was the cause there. One more thing, just we've got the bail, it's functioning. Put a little oil on both sides. And then continuing, if you like it, please like it on this. And if you have a reel that needs to be repaired, like Mike's, and you don't want to do it yourself, then by all means, please drop me a note on my email on the business card that follows. I'll be happy to provide you with that reel repair information. Nice reel. Nice reel for the price. It's a value. And we'll get this back to Mike and his son so he can go take it fishing. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.